Love you, baby. Hey. I'm gonna do the live stream now, baby. We'll be on for about 30 minutes, okay? Hey. I'm gonna do the live stream now, baby. We'll be on for about 30 minutes, okay? Hey. I'm gonna do the live stream now, baby. We'll be on for about 30 minutes, okay? Hey. I'm gonna do on for about 30 minutes, okay? Hey. Okay then, well, if I'm not mistaken, we are live and it's an absolute pleasure to see a few familiar names in HMT chat, which is always a good start to any old program. And there it is. Hello, how are you mistaken? We are live and it's an absolute pleasure to see a few familiar names.
Ah, hang on.
HMT chat. Don't worry, it's a bit of a delay that happens when you forget to do the very thing that you just asked your guest not to do, which is leave YouTube running. So anyway, further ado.
I did put it on mute.
Sorry?
I did put it on mute.
No, but I didn't. You know, this is a high quality production.
Wow.
Indeed. Well, now that that's done away with, here we are again, and I'm sure that anyone familiar with cycling knows that a technical glitch happens every now and then, and you just take it in your stride. Anyway, Helen, we have a lot to talk about right now. So shall we start from the very top, because we're about 1 week in with HMT and what's going on in our world.
Oh my God, so much is happening. So today I took a trip over to Phantom HQ and picked up all of the t-shirts for the physical ride. I am now wearing said fetching t-shirt, which is very cool. I'll just show you the back because it's got some awesome writing on there, and some good logos on the booty, and then we've also got some hoodies and some cycle jerseys to give out to the physical riders that bought them, that are doing the physical ride, and we'll give them to them at Alexandra Palace. The rest, all the virtual things that everyone has bought from Music Glue, should be at #warehouse and should be making their way to you ASAP. So fingers crossed, if you're in the UK, you should receive it by next week. If you don't, please let me know on info@heavymetaltruants.com and we will try and sort it out. For those of you abroad, it might take a little bit longer, especially the ones in the US. which could take. Yeah. So that's number one, merch done, tick. Next is fundraising. So there's been a massive boost on Race Nation in the last week. So I remember last week we raised probably around, I think it was about 17 on Race Nation. We actually had 30 in the bank. So now it's showing up as over 20 on Race Nation, which is awesome. And in the bank, we've hit, well, potentially we've hit a huge 60,000. So that is a really good start, but we never stop. We always keep going. So please, please, please keep that fundraising going. And we're going to talk today about fundraising problems and how to overcome that.
Yes, indeed. Well, I think that's the one thing to kind of take away is that it's going. And so the message is keep going. We're in the middle of HMT digital. The virtual walkers, runners, riders doing a fantastic job. It's fantastic to see the miles coming in. A lot of people on the HMT Pit, or Facebook page, that is, talking about how much distance they're covering, whatever way they're doing it, which is awesome. But the thing that's different is fundraising. Sorry, go ahead.
Speaking of which, Alex, I've also got the leaderboard up as well,
right.
Which if you're doing the virtual challenge, you can upload your mileage on Strava via Strava through the Race Nation app, and I can see that there's some people just really hitting it out of the park. We've got number one on the virtual riders. We've got Chris Stevenson, and he has done a whopping 534.4 kilometers so far, and not far behind him, Graham Berry are. I don't know if you guys remember, he did 1,000 miles last year. He's already on 391.73 kilometers. So we've got loads of people. We've got about 31 people that are signed up on the virtual ride that are already putting their things into Strava. So if you are doing the virtual ride and you haven't already, please upload your distances to Strava via the Race Nation app and an account, and we can see how much you're doing, and your followers can see how much you're doing, your fundraisers and all the donors can see how much you're doing as well. And hopefully that mileage will get the money in.
Indeed. So speaking of money, we're going to be talking very shortly to two of the charities, who we raise all this money for. But as a special incentive, we've done a really great thing with our friends at Marshall Amps. Anyone who's doing the physical ride will know that we're passing the you could say the infrastructural paradise of Milton Keynes, which also is home to the Marshall factory. Anyone who knows their Spinal Tap lore knows it's all about going one louder. And the actual amp that features in the movie is there. So hopefully we're going to get a chance to pay homage to that. And they've also very generously donated a heap of Marshall Bluetooth speakers, which the top fundraisers, both virtual and physical, are going to get their hands on. So do keep going. It's a bit of a thank you from us and from Marshall to you guys. And remember what we're doing it all for, so you can't push too hard with all of this. So without further ado, I think that it's time to bring in our very first guest. Helen, what do you think?
I think that's a great idea. So today we've got the other two charities that are on our list of beneficiaries. Last week, you remember we had Save the Children and Nordhoff Robbins joining us. This week, we've got Mickey from Teenage Cancer Trust. Mickey's a long-term friend of HMT. And we've also got Nikki from Childline, who's going to be joining us and telling us all about what you guys are doing. Hey, Mickey, how you doing?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No worries. So that green screen behind you, is that so that you can pretend you're in some kind of crazy paradise, or is it?
Yeah, exactly, like a Transformers battle or something going on in the background. This is actually our mindful room at Teenage Cancer Trust, where we come to just take a moment. I thought it'd be a nice spot to come and chat to you guys in.
That's a really nice idea. Awesome. It's great to see you again. I know that you've obviously been working for Teenage Cancer Trust for a really long time, and getting to know us, and obviously we've got to know you really well. But what's your role at Teenage Cancer Trust? What is it that you do?
So I'm on the music team at Teenage Cancer Trust. So you might be familiar with our Royal Albert Hall shows, where we do a week of rock and pop and indie and comedy shows at the Royal Albert Hall every year. And then we work with incredible people from across the industry for the rest of the year, fundraising like yourselves. And that's kind of how I get to know you.
Awesome. Yeah, Alex and I have been really lucky to go to some of the Royal Albert Hall gigs that you've done, and they are absolutely phenomenal, and obviously a major point in your year for fundraising.
Sure, absolutely.
So I think one of the hardest, things about doing HMT is to keep everyone focused on the fundraising at the same time as they're undertaking these incredible challenges. Excuse me. It's one of the things that everybody does is they're pushing themselves hard. No matter what their ability, the whole point of this is going as hard as you possibly can. Now, how has fundraising changed from your perspective? I mean, we've been through the pandemic. We've now come out of it. Does it ever get any easier?
Great question. I wouldn't say it ever gets any easier, and it's definitely evolving. You know, I think 2020, the sort of the pace in which online activities took off, and then in 2023, the pace in which they've slowed back down again has been incredible to witness. I think we're increasingly seeing people wishing to make a donation of varying different sizes, but in return for something. So it might be that we do a print collaboration between a musician and an artist, and people really want to buy those products to support the organization, but in return they get to purchase a product, and we're seeing some really great fundraising happening in that space for us.
Sure. Well, I mean, that's a massive thing, and of course, seeing what you guys do at the Royal Albert Hall, I mean, it's just absolutely breathtaking. But the amount of support that you get from the artist community is huge. You know, comedians is also huge, and so on. So, I mean, Teenage Cancer Trust it's a huge organization, but a properly year-round cycle for you guys. And so I suppose it's one of those things where you can never really take your foot off the gas as an organization.
No, absolutely. You know, the Royal Albert Hall shows happen for a week, but we're funding roles within the NHS every day. We're building units and maintaining units within NHS hospitals every day. And there's 7 young people a day are going to be told that they have cancer and that they need our support to give them the best possible outcome. So yeah, absolutely, the work never stops.
And I think one of the things that also happens, and it's actually happened on my fundraising page, and I'm sure other people can relate as well, is people donated something like £5 to me, or £10, and it's really weird because it comes with an apology. It's almost like, I'm sorry, I can't be more. Or whatever else. So what does a sum like, I don't know, £25 or £50 do? Because I really think that it helps for people to kind of understand that they really are making a difference, not just the fundraisers, but also the people who are donating as well.
Well, I mean, there's all sorts of ways that we support young people on our units within the hospitals. I think you guys have been to our UCH unit before to see the kind of quality of the spaces that we're providing, and within them we'll have PlayStations, and there'll be computer games for those young people to play, so that they can be in a communal space with other young people, and they can share their stories, but in a relaxed way, because they're around a games console, and all of those elements cost money. So those donations are making a real impact in all kinds of different ways, not to mention the £40,000 that you guys donate as a collective. I mean, obviously that's making an enormous impact, but it is those small, relatively smaller quantities, yeah, absolutely, they make a difference in ways that as you can imagine, there's just all sorts of ways that we can work with and support young people.
Yeah, I remember going to a Teenage Cancer Trust unit, invited kindly by you guys, and it was really amazing. I don't think I really kind of actually thought about what it must be like for a young person to suddenly get diagnosed with cancer, and suddenly their whole life is just turned upside down. And sometimes they go to a usual cancer unit, and they're surrounded by kind of older people or people that just don't understand them. But then coming into the Teenage Cancer Trust unit, it doesn't feel like a hospital. It feels like a really safe environment for them to be and to express themselves, and to really to remember that they are children, and to remember they are teenagers, and they're going through not only are they going through a difficult phase in life generally, but they've also just had this cancer diagnosis or treatment, or and it really blows your mind what you guys do. And it's something very kind of gets me going. So, and I'm sure other people feel the same. But Teenage Cancer Trust is one of our top charities.
That's good to hear. Thank you. I think we have a statistic that if a young person isn't treated by Teenage Cancer Trust, they're very unlikely to meet another young person who's going through the same experience as them during that time. And obviously, the comfortable environment, the safe environment is an incredible asset. But that peer support that that you get from being around other people who are going through a similar situation in their lives, friends and family can support in enormous ways, but to be with someone who's really living that moment in that moment with you is really important.
And they become friends for life, hopefully.
Absolutely, yeah, very much so. And then we fund roles within the NHS, clinical nurse specialist, but also a youth support coordinator role that we have all over the country. And that part of their role is to bring together that community and really encourage people to share their stories and to come out of themselves, as well as a whole heap of kind of social and emotional support that they provide to the young person and their family. That's something that they really kind of foster, is that community feel.
That's amazing. Alex, you're on mute, my love.
So it's a fantastic journey that you've been on with this all, and you guys really continue to inspire us and give us a reason for getting out there. And I guess as we all break a sweat, as we all kind of undertake our own individual adventures, just have to say thank you on behalf of everyone for inspiring us to do this, and I guess for continuing to give us a purpose in all of this as well, because I know I speak for a lot of people as well when I say that HMT is a wonderful thing to return to each year. And after 11 years, I only see it getting bigger and our people getting even more committed to the cause. So thank you very much for your time.
Oh, thank you very much. And thank you everybody for all your support. It really does make a massive difference. I can't wait to see you all next Tuesday. I'll be there.
Indeed.
On Tuesday, Mickey.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing you there. And one of these days we'll get you on a bike as well. Okay. So we'll talk to you soon.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Okay. Very good. So I'm going to go straight into our next guest, Helen. I've got to say that whenever I hear these stories, I always get a little choked up and emotional because it's just, they do the real work, right? It's like we should never really lose perspective on that. And I think that one of the things that I love about all of this is just the fact that we do have such a, contact with so many wonderful people behind the scenes, who are just so good at what they do, just really wonderful, inspirational people, and never lose sight of this. They're the ones who do the real work, although I know you work pretty hard too, Helen. So so hats off to Helen.
Hey Nikki, how you doing?
Hey guys, good. I think I'm having some tech issues today, so apologies.
It's fine. We've kind of go with the flow here.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here, and just so pleased that you made the time, because we know that you guys are really busy, and we have returning HMTs who probably need a little refresher. We also have people who are doing it for the very first time, and they do watch these programs, and it's a really great way of reminding everyone that it's not just the charity challenge they're doing, it's why we're doing it, the people who we're raising money for. So in a nutshell, tell us a little bit about the work that Childline undertakes.
Hi all, thanks all for dialing in and listening to what I've got to say today. So yeah, Childline is the UK's free 24-hour helpline for both children and young people. So we basically speak to young people up to the age of 19, and it gives those individuals access to a really important confidential service if they need it. A lot of people don't have anyone to turn to, so Childline offers them an opportunity to speak to somebody independent, who either by phone, by text, by email, when they quite frankly have nowhere else to turn. And it can be about absolutely anything. So it can be about exam stress, it could be about abuse or neglect, some of the kind of, the darker end of the things that we have to deal with. Or it could be, a worry, any type of worry. It could be anything at all. So no problem too big, too small. There's always going to be somebody there. 7 days a week, every day, 365 days a year, there's somebody at the end of the phone or contact to speak to that young person.
That's amazing, because there is so much worry that kids and that generation are taking on at the moment. There's a lot of stuff that we adults worry about, but sometimes we don't realize that actually passes down to the kids in our family, and to external kids in the school ground. And social media, for instance, is just like, I can't imagine being a young person around social media at the moment. Like,
you're right, Helen. Yeah, it's a really, really, I think, difficult time for young people to be growing up and to be in that environment. I think when we were all younger, it was life was much more simplified, wasn't it? And we didn't have these kind of external pressures or expectations put upon us by peers, by the media. And I think it's a real pressure for young people. And the need is ever growing. It doesn't diminish. So I think that's why it's important that services like Childline exist, so that people feel that they have an outlet. They feel like they can share their worries, share their woes, and that somebody is genuinely listening to them. Because, as you say, in a household, parents, caregivers, they have pressures that they're dealing with and facing as well. And actually, sometimes the young people don't feel that they can share that, even if they have a really good relationship with their caregivers. So it's an absolutely crucial service.
Yeah, it's one of the things. Again, Nikki, we were kindly invited to see your HQ, and it was amazing to see all the kind of volunteers, and they are volunteers that are answering the phones, and they, seeing how the hub was set up and how private and sensitive that those calls are, and how it's dealt with, was amazing. And I know that you've got hubs all around the country as well.
We do. We have. So I'm based out of London, and which is where you guys came in and visited. But we have 12 bases around the UK. So we have 1,300 volunteers across the UK who are sitting there, and you're right, they're volunteers. They're doing a 4-hour shift every single week. I actually met with one on Tuesday in London, and we were thanking her for she's worked with us for 11 years, both in an events capacity but also volunteering, and she does the same Tuesday shift, has done for 11 years, 4 hours every Tuesday. She comes in, she gives the time from 8 a.m. till 12, and she sits there trying to support and help young people that are contacting us, trying to give them some hope and positivity.
Yeah, and your volunteers have to go through quite a rigorous training scheme as well, which is obviously where our donations can come in and can be really useful for you to get that extra training to more volunteers. Absolutely.
It costs £1,600 to fully recruit and train a volunteer. Obviously, it takes about 3-4 months, to get them to a point of even being able to sort of sit on shift, with a lot of coaching, mentoring, shadowing, listening in to contacts. Because obviously, it's sometimes some really very sensitive and quite heavy things that we're having to that are contacting us about and talking to us about. So, the volunteers need to be fully equipped to be able to feel that they can manage that and give, a sensitive and responsible response.
Yeah, it's a. I mean, it's so beneficial what you do, and I'm sure everyone watching and everyone that's kind of a part of Heavy Metal Truants knows how important Childline is. But before, we were talking with Mickey and Alex about the difficulties of fundraising, especially when you've done something year on year, how difficult it is to actually get that money to keep rolling in. How do you guys find it as a kind of, as a bigger charity?
I think that one of our biggest challenges as a fairly big charity, because Childline is one of the umbrella NSPCC services, is the perception that we're a big charity and therefore we don't need the funding. They're a big charity, they've got loads of money, but actually, what people don't know is we don't get any government funding. Over 90% of our income is generated by amazing people and volunteers like yourselves, who are doing crazy challenges up and down the country for us year on year. And without that support, we couldn't keep services like Childline running. You know, Childline costs now around £35,000 per day to run, just to have all those individuals sat in the bases around the country, being able to be there every minute of every day. And that's the thing, it's a continual service. It doesn't stop, it doesn't take Christmas off or weekends or holidays. And it's an expensive infrastructure, but just an absolute lifeline. We have found it challenging. I think Childline specifically is reliant, as we've already discussed, on volunteers. And post-pandemic, we obviously saw a real dip in those volunteers because people were facing their own personal challenges. Potentially, some people who have volunteered now have health concerns or were nervous about coming in and being in that kind of environment. So it's been a real slow burn in terms of being able to pick those volunteer numbers back up and get us to a place where we were pre-pandemic. So that's been a huge challenge for us.
Yeah.
But also just the competing environment, and we're in a cost of living crisis, inflation pressures, so actually we're having to do more just to stand still compared to where we were last year, so it's a never-ending challenge, which is why having amazing advocates like yourselves and people supporting us who can spread that message and talk about the need and the continual need is just so vital.
Well, I mean, it's important for us to hear that message, of course, because, of course, what we do, it feels like a drop in the bucket, and it always seems like
it really isn't, Alex. It really, really isn't.
Yeah. Well, it's not to diminish it all, but to have a sense of scale, it's not really about, how fractional it is compared with your overall costs. But it's just the thought that, what if we hit like something around the approximate targets that we had before, that's one day that we've helped you guys do what you do. And I think that is enough for me, and certainly enough for every other heavy metal truant out there.
To bring it back, Alex, sorry to interrupt, to relative terms, it costs £4 to answer a contact. So, £4 is a child supported, a child or young person helped, listened to, answered. So I think keeping that in mind is really important, because sometimes, the enormity of the situation, as you say, people think, well, how do we make a difference? But that's the real difference that can be made.
And that's when, when Alex was saying that he has people that kind of apologize for only giving £5, that £5 is a child helped.
It's helped an individual. You can go to bed knowing that having raised that £5, you've helped a child or young person. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's sometimes it only takes one call to just alleviate the problem.
Well, interestingly,
on the smaller scale.
The supporter that I was talking to earlier in the week, actually, she had a contact on shift on Tuesday. Obviously, I won't divulge anything sensitive, but this young person was 11 and has been facing some real difficult challenges in the home environment, a difficult relationship with caregivers, and it's been going on for 5 years. She's only 11, and it was the first time she'd ever reached out and contacted Childline or spoken to anybody about what was happening to her, and left that contact I think uplifted, given what the counsellor was saying, and saying thank you for hearing me. And ultimately that's what we're there to do. That's what the volunteers are doing for young people.
Indeed, that makes a huge difference to us to hear that, because a lot of us are going to be going through a pretty massive struggle over the next few days. We've all sort of thrown the gauntlet and decided to do something that takes us out of our everyday and something into the world of an unambiguous indicator of achievement. People are going for 100 miles or 1,000 miles, or whatever the case. Everyone's just going a little further than they're used to. But knowing that there's a purpose to it all is exactly why we wanted to have you here. And so we're so grateful to you for making the time, because we know it's precious. And so thank you very much for being with us. And I hope that everyone feels inspired as I am. So thank you.
Good luck. Dig deep. You can do it, guys. Thanks on behalf of everybody at Childline.
Thanks so much for joining us, Nikki.
Speak soon.
See you soon.
Take care.
Yeah, I've definitely got the old waterworks going.
Yeah, it's hard not to, but that's okay. It's inspiring stuff,
Yeah.
and it's powerful. It's potent words. You can make a difference in the world.
Yeah, even when you're even when you're struggling with fundraising, you know, if you're hitting the same people again and again and again, and it does get tough,
Yes.
trying to go back every time. And I think it's important to, you know, to put across that message of this is what it's doing and this is why we're doing it. We're not out just, you know, having fun on our bikes. We're doing this for a purpose, and I think that's makes a massive difference. Yeah, they can make people feel guilty.
Yeah. Well, just remember that you're asking for the charities, not for yourself. You know, people are shy. You know, and anyone with self-awareness feels weird about asking people for things, but you're not asking for you. That's the bottom line about this kind of thing. And so I think it's really fitting then that we're joined by a heavy metal truant.
Absolutely.
You know, one of the nice things about the Facebook group that we have, the Heavy Metal Truants Pit, which I appreciate not everybody is on, is you get to see so much about other people's experiences and what they're doing as part of their HMT journey. And I guess the thing about virtual is that it's opened up so many different ways of doing that, which is really fantastic. So we thought it'd be nice to invite one HMT along to hear a little bit about what his journey has been like. And I think everyone will find it very relatable in many ways.
Absolutely. So mainly on the pit, it's a lot of bike envy is what I'm seeing.
There's a lot of that as well. You know, but that's part of it. I mean, you know, I guess I've been told it's called type 2 fun. It's fun that you don't enjoy at the time, but just on reflection. And so yeah, you know, is that like type 2 diabetes? I don't know, but I would say that it's definitely something people should get checked, because I'm one of them. And you know, well, I am cycling to France tonight for a bit of a sandwich run. I'm going to Calais via Dover.
Wait, you're leaving tonight on that?
Yes, yeah, I'm leaving in about an hour.
So for those that don't know, Alex is bonkers, and he and some other heavy metal truants from the Heavy Metal Cycling Club are getting on their bikes, cycling down to Dover. Is that right, Folkestone? Getting the Eurostar across.
We're getting the ferry. We're getting the ferry over. Yep.
Okay, and then going to France, having a sandwich, and then coming back. Is that
right?
it?
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, we're leaving the Cart and Horses pub, and then we will then return to the pub, and that's pretty much it.
And it's going to take you about 24 hours, is that right?
Well, we hope so. Nobody's done it before, but yeah. So basically, yeah, we're going to go to the pub. You know, fancied a sandwich, went and got one in France, came back, had a pint. So that's pretty much the entire thing.
Wow.
So yeah, we'll see how it all goes. But enough about us. Let's bring Ben aboard. He's been patiently waiting in the waiting room.
Sorry, I was chatting away. I get excited from these things.
Not at all. It is exciting, you know, and it gets ever more creative.
Helen Whitaker says, "Are you coming near Hyde on your trip?"
I will check it out. Okay, we've got Ben joining. Ben, are you there? I think we'll be able to hear you soon, but we can't see you yet. Oh.
Hello.
There we go.
Ben.
Hello, Helen, hello Alexander, hello everybody.
Ben, what a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, it's going well.
So
Yeah.
Ben, now you are let me get this right, you are a 2-time Heavy Metal Truants virtual, 4-time Heavy Metal Truants rider.
Yeah.
Wow. So you joined right back during pandemic and from the first virtual ride.
Yes, yeah, I knew about the physical ride from things through Iron Maiden and stuff when it previous to that, and then when the virtual ride became announced, I was straight on and let's have a go at that.
That's amazing. So that's how you heard about it via kind of Maiden and the fan club.
Yeah. So yeah, my Twitter stream and stuff is just full of metal. So, you know, when something's going on, we have a go and you know, keep it. And I thought it was a really good idea. The physical ride was something that I thought, well, that looks really good, really fun, and it always looked. And then, like I say, when the virtual ride became available, it then suddenly became, and particularly during pandemic, So yeah, my first year I did the 666 miles, which damn near broke me. And then each year since, I've done the 333.
The bomber.
But rounding up to 666 kilometers, because
Of course. Yeah, miles, kilometers.
yeah, it always sounds more impressive than kilometers.
It does. We always talk miles though. I don't know why.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So Ben, when you how have you found kind of fundraising throughout the years? Because obviously, and how have you found kind of, because we talk a lot about the physical ride to download, and that kind of takes up a lot of our airspace. But how do you find it as a virtual rider?
The virtual ride, I mean, you get lots of, I think the banter that goes on in the pit is, that, helps along. I know there's a lot of kudos being thrown around on Strava as well, which, and it's that side of things, that's awesome. You start to see some familiar faces and things, and that's all really good. Fundraising wise, it's varied. This year, the company I work for was very generously chucked in £100. Don't be afraid to approach your employers. Quite often they'll have a nice little tax write-off, I expect, or something along those lines. But yeah, approaching friends and family, and I live above a coffee shop, so I've got a poster up in the window, and in all sorts of other places. So it's try and get as much visibility as you can. I've got a bit of a habit on Twitter of tagging my things onto popular posts and artists and people doing album announcements, and any of the bands that I know people might have been involved with the Truants in the past.
Nice.
They might be sympathetic. So straight on to David Coverdale after last week.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, just trying to get the word out there. QR codes. So I think you saw on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Did that. But it's just getting out as many and going around your work colleagues, like you're saying, friends, family, anybody you can badger into, even if it's just a £5.
So
Have you
I'm
found?
curious.
Sorry, you go, Alex.
Thanks. I'm curious, Ben. What are the most common questions that you get from people? Because I get a few from people. One of them is, why should I pay for your holiday? Because people see me enjoying it, of course. So you kind of straighten them out. You say, well, in fact, you're not paying for anything. Everything's going to the charity. Or what are the sort of questions that you get from people that kind of wonder how a cycling challenge equates to fundraising? Because of course that's a bit of a mental hurdle for some people to get through.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally, when people, I'm approaching people, a lot of people know that I've got my back's knackered and so on and so forth, and they go, "Oh, you're absolutely mental. Why are you doing it?" And then that gives me the opportunity to kind of say, look, yeah, my back's knackered, but if I can get £5 out of you, that pays for a call into Childline. If like last week with the lady with the protein pack and stuff, and I can, and because I've been kind of doing it, and I've tuned into this sort of every year, I can give quite good examples of how that money is being spent. And it's also and also the involvement, because everybody's heard of Maiden. I say it's kind of run by the very close association with Iron Maiden. People have heard of that. It gives it sort of a level of legitimacy, shall we say, that people can kind of get their head round. I mean, I do it. So the way I've kind of arranged it is I do a certain amount in the morning and a certain amount in the evening. the girls at work are keeping me topped up with coffee to get me through my work day. But yeah, when I think it's similar to, you know, if you're trying to fundraise for other things, you just have to give people a reason that, you know, however small a donation you give or get out of them, it does make a difference somewhere along the line. And collectively, when it all comes together, we make that huge difference to all of the charities that we support.
Indeed.
Amazing.
Well, amen to that. And, you know, thank you for your hard work. And I guess we're sharing a little bit about your experience, which I know that people find very, very relatable. You know, it's important to remember that we're all kind of stepping outside of our regular lives in order to do this. So the coffee story is definitely something I can relate to. People I work with kind of dealing with the fact that I'm a little bleary-eyed some mornings, and oh, by the way, I'm going to be disappearing for 5 days, and we have all these things going on. So it is a struggle, but it's kind of meant to be. That shows your commitment. So thank you much for joining us.
No
And
problem.
yeah, well, keep going, man. That's a
Good luck, everybody.
Yeah, indeed. Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks so much for joining us, Ben, and
No
good luck
problem.
with the rest of the challenge.
Thank you. Bye.
See ya.
Very good.
It's so awesome what he was saying. You know, he was saying his back's knackered, and it's amazing the amount of people that have got, you know, physical injuries that prevent them from doing you know, these kind of massive things, but they're just plugging out. They're getting their miles in. They're doing what they can, and if that's a challenge for them, you know, then that's all good. You don't have to be doing these 1,000 miles. If you know, 35 miles walking is a challenge for you, or if even 35 miles cycling, to be honest, for me, then, you know, that's your challenge, and that's good enough. So yeah, kudos to those with injuries that push through. Indeed.
And obviously we want everyone to do things safely.
Absolutely.
So, just don't injure yourselves.
Yes.
But yeah, remember, it's supposed to be tough. So if you're questioning why you're doing it, just remember who it's for, and you know, just be proud of the fact that you've committed to this thing. It's not for everyone. You're part of the 1% of the population that cares enough to get out and do something, because most people don't, and you're not one of them. So well done. And
Absolutely. You are metal.
Indeed, it is very metal. So we've got a couple of things happening next week. A few of us are going to be physically cycling up to Download Festival, which is exciting.
Yeah. We're meeting at Alexandra Palace on Tuesday morning at 8 a.m, I believe.
Yes, indeed. And of course, all supporters are welcome to cheer us on. If you're not coming on the ride, we'd still love to see your faces. And yeah, it's going to be good. So we'll actually be doing it simultaneously with all of the virtual walkers, runners, and cyclists who've also undertaken challenges. So there's going to be a big week. I guess we'll put out a newsletter from the Monday to kind of see where we're all at. And well, I just can't wait to see a few more social posts from people, you know, tweet, post on Instagram, post on stories. We'll see you if you tag us. And it's a great way of making some noise about what we do. Okay, so Helen, I'm going to get packing, and wish everyone luck and a fantastic evening.
Bon voyage, Alex.
Merci. That's the only word I know. Great stuff. Okay.
Un grand baguette.
Yes, le grand chou, the big cabbage. Right. Okay. I am off. We'll see you guys. Thanks.
Good luck, and good luck to all of you guys out there.
Thank you. Bye-bye.